Well, good afternoon. I'm Bob Anderson from the California Seismic Safety Commission and was one of the original members of the Natural Hazards Mitigation Association. Thanks to Shirley and especially to Alessandra. And just kind of happened to be in the right place at the right time and ran into them. Had no idea that it was forming, and they talked me into it. And I also work part-time for the California Earthquake Authority, which is a state instrumentality, meaning it's a publicly organized and run but privately funded entity in California that works with residential earthquake insurance. And we have the good fortune today to have our brand new mitigation officer, Chief Mitigation Officer Nhma Bob. Please stand up and say hi. The big thing that Janelle can tell you is you have been interpenetrated by representatives that work with the insurance community. Whether you like it or not, we're here. So if you want to say something about your mitigation program real quick.
Yep, we're embarking on a $20 million mitigation program in the state of California. It is for both insured and non-insured single-family residences. What I will be doing was working with JPA with Nhma to provide grants to homeowners who use the new residential building code in the state of California to strengthen the part of their home that's below the first floor. So mitigation, by my definition, includes plywood, bolts, and nails. And it's very exciting. As Bob said, our funding is private, so the state of California can't snatch it with this current budget round. But we do have now this JPA with Nhma to protect our money on the CEA side. But I have the full strength of the state of California behind me, because when they created the CEA, they realized that mitigation should be part of their approach to earthquakes. And so my job was created by the state legislature, and I have the full support of the legislature, the governor, the insurance offices, and the treasurer for this program. So I hope to be one of your best practices. That's not one of the bad best practices. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It turns out to be, over the last 20 years, right after the Loma Prieta earthquake, California has embarked on a journey. And that journey is pretty long and unending. It turns out, excuse me, that's it. It turns out that we've been practicing active mitigation for good or for ill. And Dennis could probably tell you a lot about the ill and maybe some about the good, since he used to be one of our seismic safety commissioners and also one of the staff members, as I understand, from way back when they first launched the Seismic Safety Commission in the 70s. Is that right, Dennis? Yeah. Anyway, it turns out we've expended well over $50 billion in 2010 dollars in mitigation for earthquakes. And with that, we're looking at basically strong ground shaking, lateral spreading, liquefaction, landslides that are originated from earthquakes, and very little bit on tsunamis, but we are active in tsunamis. It's just taken us a while to get to that part of the problem. And so $50 billion, of which that less than $4 billion of that money is actually from FEMA, or it has anything to do with FEMA. Most of the money is either from large bonded projects in California by the state or the county, and then the final major contributor of the funding for that is actually private industry. So they make up a large proportion of the amount of work that's been in California in the last 20 years. So when we have these issues, we've been kind of stovepiped for a little while, but we have some examples where California has come together on the research end, the hazards end, vulnerability end, or the risk equation, then taken active action. And part of that's being led by the insurance industry and by different entities that range everywhere from plants that produce computer chips all the way down to breweries that, and they have a very high success rate for one in Los Angeles, where they had $11 million in seismic retrofit after the Loma Prieta earthquake, even though they weren't affected by it. They looked at what could happen to them and the benefit that they got out of it by updating their plant, including seismic mitigation issues to make sure they have a low recovery time for that plant. They looked at $760 million worth of benefit. So it's about a 65-to-1 ratio of benefit versus cost. Okay. And but beer is beer. You know? So, and it turns out also we have something in California, which wasn't mentioned really here this morning, and that's my fault, is the Pacific Earthquake Engineering Research Center at UC Berkeley, which is a National Science Foundation funded laboratory for earthquake engineering. There's also one at State University, New York in Buffalo, and one in the Midwest, and I forgot where it was, Illinois. There you go. Thank you. Thank you very much. But each one of those centers conducts some kind of earthquake engineering research, and also MCER up at State University in New York does other kinds of extreme engineering work as well. What I'm getting to here is they have something called the Business and Industry Partner Group, where you get PG&E that was talked about by Dennis, I think yesterday. And under one of my mentors I'm a geologist, one of my mentors, Lloyd Clough, okay, and then also with Dr. Jack Bailey, when I came into the PEER program back in 1999 on the electric system, seismic safety vulnerability project with PG&E, it turned out that that particular project attracts money from all around the world for doing earthquake engineering research that then goes through a user-driven research cycle. So if you're from, say, Panasonic and you have something that you're looking at, that they get to put input directly into how the project is run and user-driven results, which then goes to a standards organization to be adopted or considered for adoption by whatever your standards group is for your industry. And with the electrical community, which we don't have slides here since I need to turn things over to Ed here, like right now, is that IEEE 693, the American Lifelines Alliance, has developed guidelines and standards for all kinds of lifelines industry, with the exception of a hazard for tsunami, for natural hazards. So far, they haven't got there. And some volcanic stuff they don't do a lot for. But that is where I would recommend, if you're looking at the future book that I keep hearing from Alexandra on critical infrastructure mitigation, that would be a perfect jumping off spot. Okay, thank you. And with that, I'd like to turn the floor over to Ed.